Hello, folks. On this week's show, we get excited over foam, go adventuring in 3D printing, and take in some of the most interesting news that's caught our eye throughout the week across the gaming industry. As well as all that, this week we are running a themed week for the Silver Bayonet. If you want to be in with a chance to win one of 3 bundles, you can comment here on YouTube. You can comment on tabletop.com, and if you're a Cult of Games member, you get a bonus chance to win. That can be across any of the videos this week, the unboxings, the playthrough, or even the interview with Joe. So check those out below. But otherwise, sit back and relax, because the weekend starts here. Hello everybody, we are back again with the Weekender, and this time Free, Ben and myself are accompanied by Johnson.
Yo!
Lloyd has escaped from whatever little hamster cage he's been sequestered in for the past couple of months.
Crawling through my attic trying to find the box with this one Santa hat. Because you're worth it. I put the effort in because you're worth it.
I assume all your boxes are labelled in the attic.
Oh no.
Just by a month.
No,
this is the December boxes,
and it's crawling around like a snake. There's no floors, so I'm trying to get from one support to the next, so I don't go through the roof.
It's a interesting image being conjured in my mind. You worming your way through the rafters.
Yeah.
Yep. That's going to stay with me. Well, it is a smashing hat. Thanks for that. As you can see, we all also decided to do our utmost for... Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, what the heck? I was like, I need to get this because they're all wearing Christmas jumpers.
Next week's show.
But last week you were all wearing Christmas jumpers.
Is it Christmas jumper day?
Apparently. Made up thing, like Valentine's Day and Christmas. Made up by the industry to sell cards.
Yes.
Or in this case, jumpers. Anyway, enough of that. Shall we get up to speed with what's been going on? Unless you've been living under a rock, you may have noticed this week there's been a few bits and pieces kicking around for one Silver Bayonet, with more to come as well. So if you're fancy giving some Napoleonic Gothic horror a go, from Joe McCullough and Osprey, then there's some unboxings, how to play a solo mode and a PvP, and even an interview with Joseph himself. So it's worth having a wee jaunt along there. And as I said in the opening, you can win yourself some fantastic prizes. Not the painted ones, though. They're mine. Get them out of my cold dead hands. That's the only way that one's going.
Yeah, you should check out the unboxing because Jerry has his painted ones up close, the ones that you see in the gameplay videos up close under camera. And I'm surprised at the paint job they've managed to do on them, Jerry, in such a short space of time.
The key is lots of coffee and no sleep.
I've seen people giving you grief last week about mold lines or something.
I'd already said to them in the, I think in the hobby hangout, I went, there will be mold lines on these. I don't have time.
No.
There's not the time for my usual 7-step cleaning process.
That's it. We want these lickety split, Jerry, but make sure there's no mold lines or anything.
No.
But I'd still be cleaning them if that was the case. That's how that one goes. But yeah, you can jump across, have a look at the Silver Bayonet Hub, and just dive into the videos there to see what we're going on about. And it's even some sneak peeks of stuff not due for months.
Yeah.
Like the little teeny tiny goblins and vampires.
It's actually really cool because going through that interview with
Joe.
Yeah. I was looking at I think they've hit the nail on the head because you guys were talking about it can be hard to get into Napoleonics, but with a game like this, you can just dip your toe. And I was like, I could definitely dip my toe into a bit of that.
Yeah, you don't have to paint units of 24, 36 men, all the same line infantry company or light battalion or whatever happens to be. You just go, I want one cavalryman, one rifleman, one grenadier, throw in a couple of Scots, away to go. That's it. Just enjoy yourself with the uniform nonsense.
You certainly did with tartan, Jerry, didn't you? You had a whale of a time with your tartan.
Oh, yeah. Because when you're speed painting, that's what you do. You go off book and go, I'm going to do some tartan. Which regiment tartan do I want to go for?
And you still got no appreciation. You just got crap about your mold lines instead.
That's right. I know who they are. I know where they live. Watching them. Apart from the Napoleonics, we're also at the end of our Wild West Exodus journey.
We are.
So myself and Justin have been firing together a warband over the last 6 weeks. And you can dive in and take a look at what we've been up to for the Global Gunslinger League. And we have some gameplay videos coming up for that as well. So we're going to have a intro gameplay video with our starting faction from the Showdown at Retribution box. And then later on, we will have a full-on game with both of our fully fledged 6-week forces. So as you can see, Justin's done and dusted with his. I'm done and dusted with mine. And once again, when you're speed painting, the key is to make things as difficult as possible. So I constructed a whole base for myself and then worked out how to actually get the scuttly thing to scuttle.
Nice.
I like the plankage.
Yeah.
Now, a regular person would have went, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to go ahead and stick it on a base and paint it as is and then throw sand on there. So clearly that's not what I went with. What can I say? God loves a trier, and there's none more trying than me. But even though we're going to be taking a little bit of a break over the next few weeks, if you are interested in getting into the Global Gunslinger League, you can still do that. And we won't be announcing the winners of the 2 big bundle prizes until January. So you've plenty of time to get your projects in there and fire away yourself. Let us know what you're getting onto.
If it also landed in your lap over Christmas because it all arrived as Christmas presents or something, you still have plenty of time to sit down and paint stuff up and fill out your projects with lovely miniatures and battle reports and all sorts of different things.
Yeah,
that's it. So many Christmas vacation plans just got changed.
It's the way to do it.
There is loads out there for inspiration as well. So they've got so many community members, loads of different content creators as well up on the project system, painting the way that they want to as well. So if you are trying to find a way and you don't want to stick to the specific painting guide, as it were, you can go and search for some different inspiration across the project system too.
You can go completely off book if you want.
We've seen people do Warrior Nation and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
That's just because people want to run out the Thundercats.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which is
They're on the loose.
What can I say? It is an option. Anyway, enough of what we've been up to. Time to crack on with the show, and starting with the most important part, our Indie of the Week. And this week, it's the incomprehensible Ziterdes?
Ziterdes?
Ziterdes.
Ziterdes.
Time will tell. They are a German company who mostly deal in terrain.
We don't have to go any further, by the way, Jerry.
No, we can just
look
here.
at that. Yes,
just stick with this one.
I know.
I think you'll find I will go further, though, because, let's just move away from there. We'll have a look at this.
Oh.
Most of what they do is fantasy based, although also, as you can see, would work for historics. But this company, I was aware of their work for quite some time because people may remember, many moons ago, Games Workshop released some foam buildings, and they were like a hard foam that you could throw down your tabletop. So there was like a crashed chimera, there was a ruined stone tower for fantasy, there were orc huts. They were all made by these guys under license. There was even a particularly spectacular dwarf thing, which I'm surprised you've never seen. But it's a fantastic repository for not just terrain, but also terrain making parts that they've collected together. So, the little bits and pieces, the incidentals that we often talk about, just to add a bit of life to your tabletop, even things like little door knockers. I mean,
pick up a pack of knockers.
It's such a small thing, but especially if you're buying multiple pre-made houses, just to differentiate the occasional one, just throw something on there, just have that little bit of a uniqueness to your tabletop.
A good set of knockers will make all the difference.
I think so.
I mean, for even the sake of, I know you're not a fan of miniatures RPGs, but can you imagine a GM, for example, saying, make sure that you knock on the particular door with this particular knocker. It's great. It's a nice little detail just to add out.
Yeah. And these sorts of things, there are a lot of people out there who do market stalls and the like, generally an MDF, being able to actually stick some crates of produce in and on them changes it massively as well, because, you know, an empty shelf is no use to anybody in the market. And it just changes it. You bolts of cloth and apples and I think that's some sort of meat stuffs. Who knows? Anyway,
that's like a box of scrolls.
Could be that as well.
You like a pick your own adventure stall.
See if I can get invigorated that way.
Carpets at the top, maybe.
Well, yeah, carpet and rugs, scrolls, books, fish. Always keep the fish and the scrolls away from each other. Nobody wants smelly scroll.
That's how weird magic happens.
That is how weird magic happens. One for Ben.
Oh,
because if I go past dwarven statues, I'll probably be lynched.
I like the look of those.
And weather vanes, because, you know, why not?
So are these resin then, or are these foam, like you were saying? Or?
So, oopsie daisy. So depending on the bits and pieces, they'll either be resin or hard foam. It'll tell you here. They actually list the material. I think they even have a few bits and pieces in metal, just for, you know, novelty value. But there you can see them.
Yeah.
A nice pair of flanking guards.
Have those alongside the doors to the hold. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Or, you know, if it's a smaller hold, then you get yourself a pair that are kneeling down.
This is the back door.
Yeah, sometimes you need that.
No, those are really nice.
They're very nice.
They're the kind of things that you can add to a tabletop that immediately then ground it within this particular setting. So you could have all the trees and the mountains and the stones and the rivers and all that kind of thing. And then you put in some dwarven statues and then immediately you're like, well, this is somewhere that, you know, either used to belong to the dwarven kingdoms or now does, and all that kind of thing. So that's really cool. I like those.
Weather vanes.
Oh, they're great.
I mean, I didn't know I needed weather vanes in my life. Somebody made a set of weather vanes, which I imagine are probably either resin or brass. Oh, actually resin.
I wonder if they turn, because then you could have things that you're doing in your game and the weather vane dictates stuff that's going on.
Put a little magnet at the bottom.
A bit like, is Mary Poppins going to arrive now, or is she going to bugger off home? That sort of thing.
Just magnetize it.
Yeah, magnet in the bottom.
Stick
and
a magnet on it and spin it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a very Hobbit-looking house there, isn't it?
So yeah, beautiful door, beautiful little.
Outrageous. Should be in the side of a hill somewhere. Don't need a weather vane.
Hobbit doors don't make sense.
They're practically badgers, hobbits, to be fair.
But they don't make sense.
Why?
Hobbit doors should be more of a triangle type thing, getting wider at the bottom to get their feet in.
All right.
Why would they design a door that actually gets
with fat ass, but, you know,
smaller? Well, why would you design a door that gets smaller and you've got big feet towards the bottom?
I think you should get onto the planning council at Mickle Delving and
It's all part of that bloody Lord of the Rings universe, which is isn't it?
Oh my god.
It's one of those days, isn't it?
I'll just have a quick look at this before we move on to some of the bigger train pieces. Oh, look, actual clear resin bottles and jugs and glasses.
I love those.
I mean, for anybody out there doing dioramas as well, dwarven bars, that sort of thing, being able to get those is absolutely gorgeous.
Stick those in the Green Dragon.
Yes.
In Hobbiton. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's from that book he's like again, isn't it?
Or the prancing pony in Brie.
Yeah. But anyway, on to the bigger bits and pieces, and this is where they really shine. So I suppose we'll have a look at our houses first, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
These are in the main the hard foam. So the nice thing about them is they're incredibly robust. I should have actually brought some of my pieces because I have a lot of the GW ones kicking around. You could drop a book on them and you'll not dent them. I mean, they are just brutal.
Oh. Yeah. So how much of the hill do you get for that one?
Can we see it unpainted? There's some there. If you click over on the left, there's like unpainted versions.
Yep.
Ah, there we go.
Okay. So you do get a fair whack of it.
Well, that's a square.
I was just about to say
That's a square door.
Oh, ye of little faith.
But you could make that into a mine quite easily.
You could as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on a minute. How does the square door become a round door? Is there a round door option? Click that one further up.
Have a look.
The one in the middle has the square door and painted. So we see what that looks like. Oh.
So you
See,
can
that makes
change the frontage.
That makes far more sense for a hobbit with its big flipping gangly feet to try and fit through rather than get... Because also there's hobbit things that got to lift their bloody feet up. That's how crap that book is. That bloody set of books. Let me know in the comments. Or don't let me know in the comments. You just read me apart.
So here's how you upgrade. You can get back on topic.
Oh, here we go.
You can get various round doors for your facades, which are worth it in itself, even if you're not planning on buying the full thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just getting these and then getting some foam and using these as facades, because some
Locking
people
them in,
don't want to take the time or effort to scratch build these things, and if somebody's already done them,
that's cool, because you could just get a load of those and stick them on the side of a hill together and like a little terrace row of hobbits going.
How much is the actual Hobbit Hole Hermitage thing? Because those are like €6.
They're $6.50. I think it's $45 for the full kit and caboodle.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Ben's like, how much is it? I'm asking for a friend. Like, it's not
asking for a friend. Does this give us the full size? There you go. So width 27 by 13 centimeters tall and 40 centimeters long. That is a substantial piece of real estate.
Yes, yeah.
By anybody's, metric. Let's move away from our hobbities. Have a look at our dwarf blacksmith.
Ooh, that is pretty big. Look at that.
And that's huge. Yeah.
How big is
this? Is huge.
Because this is smaller.
Oh, wow.
Only 15 by 15 by 15. But
titty one.
A dramatic looking piece of chunk to go in the middle of your table.
I like that the stones are not all even for it as well, but it's got little bits where it's sunken in and recessed and then more in relief as well. It's really cool. I like that. Because then it looks like it actually exists within a world rather than it just sort of being constructed. Yeah. It looks like a dwarf has taken over residence there rather than actually built it, because it's like, oh, this is terribly cut stone.
There's I suppose, the naked version that you would get.
What are we doing? Is it for 15 mil or what at this scale? Because this is the size of it.
These are all 28 mil, but that's dwarf. That's why it's so short.
Oh.
Because
it's a squat house for squats. Yeah.
Oh, you could put one of those little dwarven stone statues out the front of those doorways as well.
Yeah. Welcome to the Dwarven Quarter.
Yeah.
It's one way of doing it.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I like that.
What else have we got? We've some sort of lake towny buildings. That's another one from one of the other books.
For when the dragon decides to torch the place, yeah.
Oh, the watchtower. That's cool. Oh.
These are gorgeous.
Now we're back to those. We'll have a look at this one.
You like it.
That's stunning.
Again. I quite like that. There's a house around here that has those ridiculous, sloping roof all the way to the ground. And as kids, we always used to try and ride our bike up it. What do they expect? It's practically a ramp.
Yeah, it is.
They didn't like that. They don't want people riding up and down their side of their house. Then they shouldn't have made it in that direction. I'm just saying they were wrong. But again, the detail and the like on this, so very fancy Tudor-esque,
So when the foam comes to you, is it sprayed in that way?
It's sprayed in that way. Yeah.
Oh wow,
that's interesting.
So if you're super lazy, don't want to do anything, just go. Walls are one color, roofs another color. I'm good to go.
What's the massive A for?
It's because this is the Avengers Tower.
I was thinking
that. That's a big one as well. How big is that? Because I'm curious now. 26 centimeters square, 21 centimeters tall. And beefy pieces.
It is a watchtower.
It is. You're out with your tape measure again, aren't you? I can see you, Lloyd.
Here it is. That's
Tis this big.
that's 260 there.
Yeah, that's big.
We got I'd like to see the front painted.
A
The
lengthwise.
front painted.
Oh, so you can't see the A. I can't unsee the A now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I say,
It's A for adventurers. There we go.
it's A because the A frame is the most stable structure since time began. The Egyptians knew it, and people have kept going with it throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautiful. You can make a really nice lake tail diorama of these.
That's the Jerry picture.
Yeah. It's far away.
Comes with the textured roof as well, and that's nice.
Yeah.
So that's actually built into the design of the foam. So that's cool.
Yeah. The nice
Break
thing
out the dry brush.
The nice thing about this foam is it captures all those details.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's used primarily in like the movie industry for prototyping and for making nonsense like props. So it picks up detail remarkably well. So clearly they've used something like a wire mesh on the windows, and then the foam is just taken all that detail.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's incredibly light, but stupidly robust as well.
Yeah, that's what I like most about foam buildings is dropping them and them being okay.
Yeah. I tried to. There was a big skull in the middle of the watchtower from Games Workshop that looked terrible to my eyes, and I tried to cut that out, and it was much, much harder than I expected. Whenever I went, this is just foam. It looks like foam. I can tap the bottom of it; it's full of bubbles. Oh, and then 2 days later with a hacksaw, I'm still trying to gouge my way down there.
Hey, go back. There's something going on here. Go back to those ones we were just looking at.
I have no idea where we were. It was Lake Town, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was Lake Town. Yeah.
Look at that. Now we've got Zeds.
If you get all the pieces, you might be able to spell a secret.
There's some sort of secret message going to come out of this somewhere.
Well, that's
because they have terrain that ranges from A to Z.
Oh,
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. Oh, we need to get out more.
Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway.
Castles and fortresses.
Fortresses.
Yes, please.
I'll also have a very quick look. These are actually the
orc tents are nice.
These are the orc tents that GW sold in store.
Right.
Terrain.
Wow.
They've
been around for a long time then. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very much so. So some of these will be replicated, but some will be exciting and new, like our
castle walls.
And standard castle walls. Always difficult to get a good castle wall.
The dwarf fortress.
And we'll finish off with some sci-fi, shall we?
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
Wow.
Click that. We'll get a bigger image there. Yeah, perfect.
Oh. Man, that is so primed for a little bit of skirmishy fighting. Like around that staircase and everything. Oh, it's lovely.
Say that. It strikes me very Ankh-Morpork.
Yes.
With the town walls becoming the actual city itself. So people living in them or on them or up them.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get a good castle at a reasonable price can be quite tricky.
Yeah.
As anybody who's looked for them knows, they're not the cheapest in the world. What size is this castle wall? So 5 centimeters wide, 13 high, 24 long. That's not bad for 20 quid.
Yeah.
Does it have a lip on the inside? That's the thing you want to hopefully see.
Is it hard foam? Is it?
Yeah.
Yep. That's you see,
hard foam. Yeah,
you got to buy quite a few of them to have like an impressive set going on, though.
Look,
size of a roller.
Showing you how to sandpaper it down if you want to put a curved tower in.
Yes.
Clever. I mean, yes, you would need quite a few, but then you use gate pieces and things like that to sort of expand them. Most castle walls, the old GW one was, I think, 12 inches, or it might have been shy of 12 inches, actually. The Almighty
Fortress like a fort, I guess.
Yeah. I know the Renedra one and the Warlord one, but I can't remember who it is, somebody Workshop, are both around that neck of the woods. They may actually be smaller than that because they're relying on people putting corner pieces in.
Yeah.
So it's not...
The way I always see it as well is that I don't tend to see a castle just sat in isolation in the middle of a table either. I normally think of it sort of built into the corner, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the gatehouses for it. Yeah. So you can expand away from this, and that would take up a big chunk. Or if you want to have a more sort of traditional Did I open up the other gate tower? Because I don't think I did. There's this as well.
The town gate there.
And again,
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I like that.
I
That's
assume it's
really
just
nice.
that piece in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other parts are just walls. That explains why they're showing you how to curve your walls.
yeah.
So it's literally just the tower, not the gate.
I think it's the tower. I'd assume it's the tower and the gate, but
because the other
it says
things,
town gate on it. So
Yeah. I'd guess.
Yeah,
it'd be
I think it's those both together, the tower
Mm.
and gate. If I do that,
really not an unreasonable price for a lot of this stuff as well, which is quite nice. So
oh, it looks a lot bigger when you see it like that.
Yeah. It's a lot thicker than I thought.
That's more impressive than me holding up a tape measure.
I mean,
a standard
you
reference,
not?
Lloyd. That's
they're awesome.
I like
It's
the fact that it's got the lip on it, so you can slot it on properly as well.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And the fact you've got options, you can have the covered tower or crenellated tower, or even the little round one. I mean, that whole setup, the one he's leaning on the back, is it's €125. But
Wow.
my God, look at it.
Yeah.
The thing that's quite nice about it as well is that obviously, because all of this is done with structural foam, but you could get a lot of that blue stuff, the blue foam that you can find in DIY stores and that kind of thing. You use this to get all of the kind of the really like big focal pieces.
Yes.
And then you build the walls yourself, because if you just follow a similar style and design to like cutting in the brick forms and things into the blue foam, you'd be able to do all the little bits and pieces that you need and maybe slot in additional pieces much, much easier.
See how hollow that is?
I thought that's interesting. I thought that was just going to be one solid lump.
Yeah.
I mean,
whenever he tilts it, you can see it. It's not just that it's super light because it's foam, it's also practically hollow.
Yeah. Looks light as a feather as well.
That's where you build an entirely interior MDF structure and you can lift off the top.
And hear me out here, not.
Yeah. Maybe that.
Well, that's how you maybe could like put some lights or something in there if you drilled some, if you carved out windows and managed to push it through and things like that, and then put replacement windows in, you might be able to do some lights.
Use that as your inner barbican.
Oh,
get a ton of the other stuff, the outer curtain wall.
Yeah.
The main thing I like about this is the material it's made in for the durability of it, because we've been sent stuff as big as this in the past in the studio.
Yeah.
But they've been in resin and they've been smashed to bits in the post before they've got to us.
Yeah. Added to which, you've got cost of transporting. So resin pieces are not cheap, and then they weigh a ton, so they're going to cost more again. The fact that this stuff, it's bulky, but it's light.
Yeah.
You know, you have to
MDF's the same.
Have to tether the box down. Yeah, MDF.
Expensive to ship.
Because it's just blocks of wood, essentially.
But I think I'd prefer it if they sold a version that was already rounded off, though. If I knew I wanted round towers, I don't want to be sitting doing that myself after spending 20 odd quid on it.
You're very lazy. The problem then would be they'd have to make two separate molds, and then you've got, if people aren't buying one or buying one over the other, then you've got a lot of dead stock sitting around. So,
they're hollow as well. I thought they'd be solid bits.
So
keeps it even lighter.
It's a good way to go.
That means that if you wanted to try and make it so that the walls didn't slide away from each other, you could put some kind of like little braces in between.
Well, I thought about just magnetizing.
Or magnetizing, would do the same thing.
Oh, look at that.
We'll be coming back to some of their building techniques in a moment, because it's the other big part of this website.
Wow.
But this is obviously what Ben wants for Christmas. Do you need a moment, Ben?
Stunning.
It's beautiful. Now, this is, like I said, one of the more expensive things they have on the website. 125 quid. How big do you think that is, Ben, before I hit the product information?
Well, it's out of stock already.
If I'm doing this in dwarves, I'd say that's at least what's the frontage of a unit? Like 5 inches, 10 inches, something like that. I'd say that's like
the frontage of a unit would be 100 mil.
100 mil. Okay, so I'll say that's like
4 inches.
So yeah, 12 inches longish, maybe. Yeah,
it's got to be bigger than that, Ben.
So 12 inches is about 30 centimeters. So this is 60 centimeters
wide.
So 2 foot wide, almost. 26 centimeters tall, so almost a foot tall, and 50 centimeters
Whoa.
deep.
I was seeing this as something a little bit more squat, but that's amazing.
So what we've learned here, Ben, is you're not very good at judging the size of things
in fact,
in inches.
because they've got a few things here where they've got dwarves on and around it, which will hopefully give you a better idea of scale.
I was trying to judge it by dwarf. Okay, well, that is massive.
That's huge.
So that's them playing in the inner courtyard.
Wow.
There's Gandalf on top of a tower. Hello, Gandalf.
Hey, Gandalf.
Hello. That would be good for reenacting my favorite book.
Digby the biggest dog in the world.
Could use it as a Helm's Deep.
Could.
You could. It's gorgeous. I can't believe how big it is. There's different levels on it, different places. Yeah. Quite the fortress.
That's what you want to hear when you turn up your game club. You slap that down on the table and people go, I can't believe how big it is. That's your day made when that happens to you.
Yeah, going to make quite the slap being that it's, fine.
Yeah. But while we're here, not just fantasy or historic, also a bit of sci-fi. So if you're looking for some form of bastion, you too can have that.
And a good access ramp so you don't have to go, how do my guys get up?
They did that on the one that it wasn't for sale, it was just for the GW stores. It was a very flat bunker, and it had a little access ramp that sort of ran around the top of it as well. You're always trying to squeeze more people into it.
Maybe. I'm definitely more keen on doing the whole historical or fantasy side of stuff with this material, simply because it does have a bit of texture to it. Yeah. But if you're going to go this grimy route, it works quite well.
I mean, you could even paint that as concrete, I suppose, with metal reinforcements on it.
Yeah.
Go that way,
so, yeah. But that's not the only thing I wanted to look at while we were here. Apart from all the terrain bits and pieces, they also do the various scatters and things that you'd be looking for. But a big part of this is the crafting tips pages, which are obviously the two guys we've seen there from the video, but also other people who have bought their kits and people who have worked with them. And they've got some great articles, great blogs about how to convert, how to work with the foam material, how to add in interesting bits and pieces to it. So the converting the cottage was quite nice. I seem to remember them sort of cutting into it, and the desert houses as well. It also gives you a sort of a breakdown, how long it takes you to do it, what sort of skill level you need to be at to do it, to convert the two of the desert buildings into one.
That's really neat.
That is really cool.
So you get a whole step-by-step guide of
what you need to do it with,
what the buildings, the little add-on accessory, and then how to go through it.
And then the other thing is, I would assume this is a safer material to be working with than a big block of resin.
Yeah,
it won't be carcinogenic, won't it?
No, you would hope not.
It might be. I could tell you, I've got 2 tubs of it behind me.
Might be incredibly toxic foam, but
it might be. I don't know.
Just don't lick it, please.
It's too far away for me to reach back to. Don't lick it. Don't inhale it. Your biggest thing is anytime you're sanding any of these, always wear a mask. But I absolutely adore the fact that they've gone, here's our stuff, and then here's what people have done with it. You don't have to just sit with the same 2 buildings all the time. If you're building up a village, the 2 buildings are enough to give you basic stuff, and then you can start playing around with it yourself to make up bits and pieces. Converting the fisherman cottage again, similar thing. And just really nice tips in there about working through it, cutting it down, adapting it, and then using bits and pieces like balsa wood or lollipop sticks, whatever it happens to be, to add variations and sort of build up the pieces as you go, making a balcony.
There's that blue foam.
Yep. You're just toying with me now. I was complaining bitterly you can't get it in Northern Ireland for some reason. It's been grating me. People keep going, you can order it from England. Going, I can, yes.
The nice thing as well, the nice thing about this, I would assume as well, is that like if it does get damaged, you can kind of fill it back in, I suppose, with stuff.
I mean, whereas it's not easy to damage it.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, you're more likely to, it won't chip. You could compress it by putting a lot. I mean, you need to put a lot of pressure on it. In which case, bit of plaster over the top, and away you go. Jobs are good.
Polyfiller it all back in or something.
Polyfiller is ideal.
And then it was because of the texture of it. It wouldn't matter if that was kind of slightly grainy or whatever as well, because you'd effectively just be patching back over that, I guess. So, yeah, very nice.
How cool!
So a terrific idea. Not just the fact that they sell all the stuff, but then also they go in and show you how to work with the material. Because hard foam is not something a lot of people will have worked with. Some people may have worked with XPS. A lot of people will have worked with wood or balsa or resin, that type of thing. But it's not that it takes a lot to work with it. But it's nice to know that if you've never touched it before, you can actually just go in here, dive in, and start playing around. Although why you would carve that beetle out, always leave the beetle in. But terrific little website with a whole host of stuff.
Really cool.
And well worth checking out if you're interested in doing a bit of kit bashing, scenery building, or otherwise getting Ben a Dwarf Mountain. Might get a golden button if Ben gets sent a Dwarf Mountain.
Not that I'm bribing or anything.
No. Well, what's the point being here if you're not bribing? That's my indie of the week for this week. The unpronounceable Ziterdes.
Ziterdes?
Whatever. Let us know what you think below. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping into the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
So we're diving back into some gaming news for this week. We're starting off with some brilliant stuff from Kromlech. So, as people will know, last year they created a fantastic set of terrain that was designed specifically for Frostgrave. It was their official terrain set that they did alongside Osprey Games. Well, they're back this year with another set of terrain to add on to that all ties into this, which is the Blood Legacy expansion, which is available now. So yes, this is all sort of themed around that book and the kind of things that are around that. So in the book, it's all about sort of vampires who have awakened within the city of Felstad, and also the giant blooded as well that are stalking the streets, and how the vampires have been using their blood to create sort of like an elixir that makes them more powerful. And then one of the scenarios is actually played out in Eventide Manor, as you can see there, which is this fantastic ruined manor in the center of Felstad, where the vampires may have made a home for themselves. But maybe you're even going to be creating a vampire yourself and leading a warband throughout the ruins to have fun and explore and find treasures and things. But yes, this is a large terrain selection from them, which brings together lots more of their HDF terrain alongside some resin pieces as well.
Do you know what would be so cool if you go back to that thing with the picture frames? If you could get like little, do you know the way you get those hologram sort of pictures that change as you're going? If you could get them in like human form and then vampire form that change depending on where you were, that would be cool.
That would be very, very cool. Look at it with a microscope, that would be the way. But yeah, so they've got the Eventide Manor set, which we've seen. We've got the fireplaces, which you can see there, which are looking very nice. Use them to sort of show off like slightly more lived-in area that perhaps your warband has made home in. So you sort of like put a fire on stuff. You've got the manor furniture there, which has all been sort of used to create blockades and all sorts of different things. You can maybe root around in those, maybe as objective markers in the game, see if you can find some secrets. You've also got the ruined hallways set as well, which, as you might imagine, is a set of ruined hallways. Pretty self-explanatory, but it sort of shows off a nice mix of their sort of resin stuff that they've put together for this as well. So yeah, really high detail bits and pieces that are covered in little tiny things to kind of build on the narrative. I like things like the candles here and there that show where people have passed through. And you've got little discarded items and notes that have been left around as well for people to go and have a look at. There's even a portrait, as you can see there too as well. Yeah. So yeah. The manor has definitely fallen into disrepute. You've also got the Haunted Gatehouse, which is designed for one of the scenarios within the campaign around Eventide Manor as well. So everything that you see here is kind of tied into stuff that you could play throughout the rulebooks. So that's exactly what they did with the the previous range as well. All of them were tied to specific scenarios. So if you were going through it scenario by scenario, you could just pick up this terrain piece and use it in your games. We even did the same thing in our Let's Plays and things that we did as part of the themed week for it.
Is this all pre-colored stuff then?
No. So it's uncolored. So you have to get the airbrushes or the paintbrushes out to paint this. Dry brushing is your friend, as well as lots of snow, I would imagine. So
also, copy the color scheme from the book like I did.
Exactly.
It looks much better than grey.
And then you've also got some stuff that is kind of be useful across pretty much anything you're doing in Frostgrave. So you have the range squares and bridges, and then there's also the walkways and arcades as well. So this kind of enables you to sort of dive in and play around with height in your games. One of the things that I really like about Frostgrave and a lot of skirmish games in general is that they really like things to be high and low, just for the sake of dynamism. And obviously you can do that kind of thing when you've got individual models moving around. So I think these are really, really great and a sort of nice addition to things, because then you can use these to either frame a building perhaps, or use it to have a building sat atop it. So for example, that large square there, you could sort of use it because it's all slightly modular to put the house on top of that or something if you wanted to, and play around with that, or a tower, for example, as well.
You're one step away from doing canals or sewers with that.
Exactly.
As well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I just wanted to point out, so yes, as I said, it's all sort of tied into the book. So as you can see there, look, there's the Eventide Manor campaign.
Nice.
So yeah, if you go in and follow that, look, I've turned down the edge. Oh, what a horrible man I am. But yeah, so it's all sort of fills into this book, and there's a whole bunch of different scenarios built for this. As you can see, treasure rules and all sorts of things. So
how dare you destroy a book that's actually good? Disgraceful.
And look, this one's even called The Portrait Gallery. So,
nice.
So yeah,
that explains all the pictures.
Oh, yeah, well, that's portraits.
And if you are interested in more about this book, I am going to be doing a little kind of first impressions of it next week. So watch out for that as well. So, yeah, cool stuff.
Show off.
But yeah, so that's everything for Frostgrave and Kromlech. Some really nice stuff there that kind of builds on what they've already done, for people that just want to have a bit of fun and play around with some interesting scenarios. We're then moving away from the fantasy and instead heading off to the realms of sci-fi with MiniWarGaming and Laser Squire Games. So you may remember Jerry did an interview with Laser Squire earlier in the year, where they kind of teased that they were working on something with MiniWarGaming. Well, Dave's vision has now come to life in the form of the Veil Touched. So this is a range that's going to be coming to GameFound at the start of 2022. No wonder it's not Kickstarter, considering what they're doing with crypto. But anyway, that's a story for another day. But yes, so the Veil Touched are his selection of kind of chaosy, traitory, marine, space knights, cultists that have been designed for, obviously, use in Warhammer 40,000 and all kinds of other grimdarky style games, maybe Grimdark Future from one-page rules and that kind of thing. But it is going to be, we assume anyway, part of some kind of board gamey stuff that's coming up in the future as well for them, because the GameFound page actually talks about it being like 2 to 4 player and that kind of thing. So some very cool stuff there. As you can see, Lord Davicus leads them. I wonder who that's named after. But then everyone else in there has kind of been designed so that it can be used as kind of melee troops, ranged troops. There's specialists in there, elite options, and all kinds of different things there too. There is actually a whole bunch of fluff that's been built in alongside all of these. So when you go over to the GameFound page, you'll see like whole paragraphs dedicated to who they are, who these characters are, how they're sort of integrated with the Veil Touched. They have a kind of sort of Event Horizon style story in that they were sent off into a warp to go and hunt down things. And when they came back many, many years later, they turned out like this. Hence the Veil Touched.
They've all gone wrong.
I guess. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a really nice section of them here. A good set of both male bodies and also female bodies in there as well. So they've done a really good job with that. They've also done a set of like cultists and stuff as well. So it's not all big, heavily armored brutes with big weapons. You've also got some sort of scampering humans alongside them as well, which is pretty neat.
Oh, yeah.
Here you can see, for example, some of the female miniatures are sort of like as their own force as well, which is really cool. They've also, well, one of the things I really like about the models as well is that they, from Lazy Squire, they've done this really nice kind of detailed look to them. So they are packed with sort of like depth, which I think is quite nice, because that means that you're going to be you can very, very easily paint these with washes or contrasts and then dry brushing on highlights rather than having to worry too much about doing it all individually with a single smaller brush. And, you know, someone's got to do that. You know, if you're trying to get these to the table. So the thing that I will say about them is they are incredibly detailed. So much so that like a lot of people complain about Chaos Space Marines having a lot of sort of filigree and edging around their armor. These have even more than that. So if you are patient enough to paint Chaos Space Marines, I'm sure you'll be all right with these. But certainly something to be aware of because there's a lot of sort of nuts and crannies for them. It's
certainly the art style that Lazy Squire have used before with Storm Sunder and with Wild Ascent. And one of the things that I was very keen on whenever I was looking at the actual production miniatures was how close they came to the prototypes. So where you've got all of that scrolly detail, it's all on the miniature, and they're generally one piece.
Nice.
If they're not one piece, then a few of them may be pre-assembled, some of the bigger bits and pieces. But I mean, that will all be on it.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Lloyd.
What's this material going to be again? Is it going to be that PVC type stuff, or what?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be the PVC plastic that they've used in previous games. So all presented in that way, and you get them in those big presentation boxes. So I would assume, as you were saying, Jerry, they're all going to be kind of like one piece. It's just for you to play around with there. So
they're very punk, post-apocalyptic looking in some ways. The weapons, especially.
They do look a little bit kind of like Bosch together.
The human ones, especially.
It'd be fascinating to see what they do game-wise because obviously with Lazy Squire, they're very narrative-driven. Heavily narrative driven. Storm Sunder is an amazing book. Wild Ascent, even the PvP arena battles are still very narrative, and the actual Wild Ascent dropping through the jungles for bits and pieces is very story driven as well, along the lines of who you are, why you're doing it. I'm wondering if there's much of that coming in.
I'd hope so. I mean, I know that MiniWarGaming do a lot of kind of like narratively driven scenario stuff over on their channel. So I would assume that kind of thing is carried through. And Dave obviously likes writing stories and stuff and building up background. And
when he's not eating massive apples, you mean?
When he's not eating massive apples, yeah. I can't remember what I was going to say now. So something else cool about that. But yes, anyway, there's some really fun stuff happening from this, and it'll be really neat to see what they do when the sort of game plan kicks off and sort of what they unlock in the future. I was distracted by giant apples. But anyway, yes.
You would be.
Yes.
There is some cool stuff coming up from MiniWarGaming to go and check out and have fun with. This is what I was going to talk about, the scale. Yes.
Hey.
So the actual humans. So thank you, Jerry. So the actual humans, as you can see, are about 32 millimeters. And then the actual characters at that stage are like 40 plus, with like Davicus being over 50. I mean, obviously that's because of the scenic base involved as well, but they are definitely on the chunky side, which obviously gels quite nicely with a lot of stuff from Games Workshop and things. So yeah, really cool.
No, I'm looking forward to. And whenever I was talking to Robert after we finished filming, he started telling me about this. I was like, it's not been announced yet. I shouldn't even have said that in the interview that we were doing something. But one thing he did say, and I'm not sure if this is still the case now, 6 months on or whatever it is, but the plan is a board game. But then you can chuck the board game in the bin. And,
very cool.
And have a actual tabletop game. Using the same rule system as its core. So there'll either be the board game for the board gamey people, or if you just play the likes of 40k or Warpath or one page rules or whatever it happens to be, and you're more au fait with that and more interested in playing an actual tabletop skirmish game, there will be rules for that as well.
Very nice.
And it won't be a whole new rule system that you have to learn. The pair of them will be more or less equal. So hopefully they're still on course for that, but time will tell.
Yeah. I want to see what the other faction is going to be, because obviously there's no chaos. I'm assuming they're going to do something alien in the future. I think that'll be really fun to see. So maybe we'll have to dig through Dave's mind and find out what else is brewing in there. That'd be cool.
You say that. I don't want to dig through Dave's mind. You can't make me.
It's full of apples.
Tell me more about Merchants on the Dark Road Free. Take me away from all this veiled nonsense.
Well, Merchants on the Dark Road from Elf Creek Games is heading over to retail before the end of the year. So players won't be stepping into the role of your regular heroes that you anticipate. You're going to be taking the road as merchants. It's restocking equipment for all those heroes out there across the land. So Merchants of the Dark Road was initially on Kickstarter and it did absolutely incredible. So players use worker placement and they need to stock up their caravan within the city and travel out to all different corners of the map into isolated villages, woodland, and deliver their fantasy goods. So just because you're one of the heroes as well, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be getting into a scuffle. There are bandits on the road that are lurking amongst the merchants on the fearsome road that's ahead, and they're going to need to connect with different villages, coming up against monsters as well, whilst they carry all the world of goods. But it doesn't mean they have to do it on their own, as Jeremy's showing at the moment. They don't have to do it solo. They're going to have and be equipped with a lovely, fantastical base aside with their own special abilities to help them get through the woodlands and the dark roads.
Snowbee was the one I was looking at as well. Everybody defaults to Snowbee. Nobody cares about phoenixes and dragons.
I smell
Have you ever seen a Snowbee?
Are they huge? No. I bet.
I seen a bee the other day, and it's pretty late. And me and Warren were making terrain once, and it was out in the garage, and it was like Christmas time, and a giant wasp chased us around in the garage, and we were very scared because like December wasp was going to be very angry. It's like, oh, you've woken me up in the middle of December. I shouldn't even be alive at this time of year. Very angry.
Yeah.
Just looking for somebody to stab with their stingy bum.
Yes.
Snowbees are the worst.
But the aim of the game is to have raked in the most cash by the end of it. So any player that's got the most money in their caravan is crowned the winner at the end of it. So
I really like the components. I think
it's delightful to look at. I love that it does embody the caravan on your player board.
It's the inventory screen here. It's that. We've all been there. I can't fit everything in my bag.
Yeah.
How can I jigsaw this? Or how can I Tetris this to make sure that I can get more in there? Because there's bound to be a way, and there's not.
No.
You just have to end up getting rid of the armor because you're keeping the loot.
This would be right up your street, Ben. Medieval shop simulator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the sound of this.
Very
definitely give it a go. So.
Yeah, the game can be found online at the minute because it was Kickstarter. It was out and you can find a lot in the States at the moment, but you can expect this title to be hitting FLGS stores in the UK at the start of next year.
It must be quite a not involved, but crunchy game. If the game is sort of 1 to 2 hours for something that sounds like it's a relatively simple premise.
Yeah,
there must be a lot of crunch in the rules too. It's not one of these. You're
Let me clarify something.
Move on.
Go on.
Are we all working on the same caravan?
No,
we all have our own shops.
Yeah, you've got your own caravan to rake in the most money.
But at some point,
and discover that nobody wants to buy your giant apples.
No.
But at some point, we could have a convoy then as well.
Mix. You can join forces and both rake in the most.
Saying nothing. Moving on.
Yes.
To the world of infinity.
To the world.
So back to sci-fi. So Corvus Belli have announced what's going to be arriving on tabletops in 2022 in January. They always have these sort of month-long looks ahead at what's coming up. So we have something for pretty much all different factions. So we have the Shasvasti Noctifier, as you can see here, which looks exceptionally cool. You kind of get the idea that he is the perfect anime villain that stares away in the background with his cloak blowing in the breeze, gazing down at the anime protagonist as he goes about his job, only to be shot in the back by that massive gun.
Well.
And once again, the Combined looking amazing. I love everything about them. I love the style. They are some of the coolest aliens out there, I reckon. Following on from them, though, we also have the JSA Action Pack. So if you wanted to get started off with the JSA, then you can do that with this selection that has been sort of designed for newcomers into the game to dive in and play around with. So you've got a couple of awesome characters in there. You've got your sort of standard troops. You've got that exceptionally cool-looking samurai robot at the back with the glowing katana. I mean, how awesome is that?
I mean, look at that happy little kitten.
We talked about cat ears a couple of weeks ago. So.
Well, you've got multiples then, because the biker has cat ears on the helmet. And the little fluffy kitten is actually just a token, a marker for
that's
the game.
fab.
Yeah.
So
rather the dire foes ones, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. So rather than have an objective marker that's just something dull, you might have to escort this person out of harm's way. And of course, everybody's favorite sci-fi ninja, the Oniwaban, God's gardener, chopping through everybody with a molecular blade.
The thing that
this is because the Japanese love their kitty cats.
Yes.
They do? Yeah.
I think they love their kitty cats. I love Kit Kat. Did you know that they've got about 300 flavors of Kit Kat in Japan?
They do, yes.
Yeah, green tea flavour and stuff. I didn't realise I needed that in my Kit Kat.
Yeah.
They've got wasabi flavour.
They do. Yeah.
They like to punish themselves.
We've also got, stepping away from the JSA, we've also got the Beta Troopers Remote Activity Unit. So if you wanted to play as O12 and command the streets, you have that option here as well. I love the little tiny mascot. He's great. But the thing that I really like about these is they kind of, and you'll see this with some of the other releases from this from January as well, is that they kind of they give off a vibe immediately. You can imagine these walking down the street with like a something blaring from their sound systems, being like "Get back indoors, citizens," kind of thing. Yeah. As they walk around, and then you're like, "Oh no, I'm just going to the shops." No, bang, 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 kind of thing. Not that they're evil or anything.
Scroll down again. That guy looks like Marvin the Martian.
He does look a little bit like Marvin the Martian.
If Marvin was cosplaying Captain America. Surrounded by his friends who are all chappy.
But yeah, really, really cool. I love that kind of like synthetic muscle design they've got on these.
Yeah.
You see the same thing in the kind of undersuits for some of the JSA troops as well. Very, very cool looking stuff there. You've also got the Salamandra. God damn it.
Yes.
Nice one, Ben.
Yeah.
Got it,
Squadron, which again is one of those miniatures where you can almost hear it. Like that gun, and especially the way it's been painted, obviously by Ankel, you can almost imagine like the whine of the gun sort of powering up and then just like letting rip, and almost like this like tink tink sound afterwards, like a car turning over afterwards. Sort of like, oh my god, that'd be amazing, brilliant.
I quite like him because the old one was a bit static in comparison.
Whereas this one is just like, oh, I'm going to hose you down.
There's the old one. Yeah, I mean, he's very pointy.
Ambigulate yourself. We could barely see you.
No, you don't barely see me. People can press their noses to the screens. But
that is very pointy.
You had old pointy, and now you've got holdy gunny.
So, yeah.
So, but yeah, cute nonetheless.
Yeah. We've also got, talking of big stompy things, we've got another walker. So you've got the Blackjack's 10th Heavy Ranger.
Oh, hello.
So if you want, again, a model that if you could hear it, it would make a sound. Well, if you could think about it, it would make a sound. So you've got that massive gun that's just going to be firing away into the distance. Brilliant stuff. That's cool. Look, the other thing that I really like about it is that he didn't think that the big minigun was enough. He's also got a massive mech-sized revolver.
Yeah.
He's gone full Dirty Harry. Yeah. It's not the worst part, though. Could you see what it says there on the big black thing on the front?
Is it a mortar?
It's a claymore mine front towards the enemy.
Stop.
So if people get too close,
that's what I mean.
Explode their faces.
Quite literally overkill on that guy.
Yeah.
Hug and run.
An amazing piece that I think would be a lot of fun. I'd love to see some people sort of playing around with this to make it look slightly more action-packed.
Yeah.
Maybe have like the gun held up like sort of to the side with the ammo spent, and then him like pointing the revolver at something with a couple of shells flying out of it or something. But yeah, very, very cool. Something that I'm sure a lot of people want to pick up to blow some tags up with. I think that'd be very nice.
Tags up.
Finishing things off, we've also got the Yaofang Long Ya. So these are some additional bits and pieces. Those people want to play as Yujing and stuff. So
super fantastic, great.
The thing that I really was like weirded out by these is like the little face, the little sort of white face there, and on the crotch as well. They look like sort of like weird kabuki style theater things, as if they're trying to like, oh look, we're nice and happy, and then we're going to kill you.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same as why Krang is sitting about the same height in his robot suit. It's because if you lean down to talk to him face to face, you get bopped to the head.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, looking very, very cool. A different sort of style, I think. A lot of stuff we've seen for Infinity. Almost a little bit Aleph in many ways, actually, I thought, the design. But very nice indeed. So you've got something for a whole bunch of different factions in Infinity. They should be coming out for everybody to pick up sort of the tail end of January next year. So fun stuff ahead for Infinity. And we have plans too, so watch out for that.
And obviously, JSA are best. Just saying.
I mean, they do look the coolest. So,
yeah.
Although combined. But anyway, I've gone off Ariadne. You see, I've gone off Ariadne. I kind of like the
You should have started with JSA.
What was that last set we were looking at with the crotch creature?
Well, there, Yujing.
Yalfang Longfar. Longya.
You completely put me off them now, saying that there's like two faces and one's on their crotch.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I didn't say this.
Ruined them for me, Ben.
That's why they're disturbing.
Don't worry, it'll be the front cover of this week's show for anybody who wants to see it. The big smiley face,
big round circle. Moving away from that, we're going to the realm of historical. Warhost, who create the Barons War, have now made the Death and Taxes supplement available through Footsore Miniatures and Games, as is their proper title. You can pick up the book either in PDF form or physically, although if you get the physical version, you also get that rather awesome free Outlawed Noble, as you can see there, exceptionally well sculpted, pretty much like all of the Barons War range. So we already know this is going to be appearing in one person's project.
When it says plus PDF, I mean a PDF of that. So you get the physical version and the PDF version.
So you get the physical version of Death and Taxes, you get the PDF, and you can get the Outlawed Noble if you buy the physical version. So
okay.
Cool.
And then you buy what? The other main rule book to go along with this?
Yes. So you need to buy the Baron Wars rule book as well. But I would imagine you will have already picked that up if you're going to be diving in and checking this out. In this book, you'll be traveling to the village of Wiminton, where you will be doing something fairly familiar to a lot of people who know their English history and folklore. You'll be either taking on the role of the dastardly servants of Prince John, or you'll be playing as a band of outlaws trying to stop these royalist forces from stealing all the taxes from the poor people and farmers. Does that sound familiar? It should do, because there's models of all those characters. As well as including that entire narrative campaign in there where you play through a series of different games that are all linked together, which is very cool. They've also got tips and rules in there for making your own map-based campaigns as well. So if you wanted to dive into the game, which is more on the end of skirmish, I would say, than it is sort of like a larger scale battle game, which is very cool anyway. You'll be able to dive in and play around with that and sort of fight for control of Britain. So you could have, turn the map of the UK into hexes and then fight over those as you would with your force, which I think would be pretty awesome. Or make it slightly more narrowly focused, maybe do it around Nottinghamshire or something.
Well, I was thinking, how far and wide are we talking about fighting? When you're saying turns the UK into hexes?
Well, pretty much all of England, Wales and Scotland at the very least. Although, of course, there are also campaigns over in Ireland and everything as well. So, so you could pretty much do everything. So,
you can go nuts.
There's a lot of barons.
A lot of wars to be had.
It's a popular thing too. I'm going to veer us off here. Didn't Wargames Atlantic just recently have a poll? They were asking what do people want us to work next or make next, and I think it was all. I think at the top of the poll it was all medieval knight type stuff.
Interesting.
They have one of those semi-regular bases just to test the waters and see where they're up to. But yeah, there were an awful lot of armored and cavalry sort of stuff got right up there. So who knows when we'll see that? Although I know what's coming next. So, that soon. Yeah. Goths were announced this week, tooling on their way.
Yeah. So it's a period of time and a sort of style of model that's really taken off at the minute.
Yeah,
I guess we've all been dark aged to death, and now we're moving into
just advancing the
just moving on.
Advance the storyline of England. Is that right? England?
No spoilers.
England, yeah. We've already looked at stuff in previous Indie of the Weeks and stuff where we've seen lots of different companies who do miniatures that are specifically for this kind of period. So if you want to go check it out, it's not one that's lacking for scope of miniatures.
Very true.
So
you don't have to stick in England.
No.
There's over 3 models. So you can have a crusade.
Yeah.
They had one of their own. They called it the Barons Crusade. They named it after themselves. Or Donald Trump's youngest son.
I was going to say, yeah.
One or the other.
That's his own kind of campaign. Yeah.
Yes, very different one.
Right. Some big Big news.
Big news. Well, the Asmodee, as you all know, have been acquiring across board game publishers like there's no tomorrow. So they've got Z-Man, they've got Lookout, they've got Fantasy Flight. To me, they're a tabletop giant, Asmodee. So what's made me realise recently that there is always a bigger fish, because our giant has just been completely consumed by a tyrant. So the Embracer Group are incredibly influential in their industry, although you might not have even heard of them.
Never heard of them.
Exactly. Well, they have picked up Asmodee, and they're the people that own THQ Nordic, Gearbox Entertainment, Coffee Stain. They own a lot. So
I have Coffee Stains.
You've got Coffee Stains. Wow. Well, they're going to be taken over by Embracer Group.
Gary didn't realise that he was a multinational corporation.
I've heard of Valheim.
Yeah, Valheim.
I mean,
Galactic. Yeah.
Oh, Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator, exactly. So can we see this? This is what I want to know. So are we going to expect more video game stuff like Goat Simulator coming onto the tabletop? So THQ Nordic was the biggest name for me on there, because they've got Darksiders, Destroy All Humans. And then you've got ones with the Borderlands franchise as well. You've got Duke Nukem, Brothers in Arms. So they've got 500 plus IPs behind them, all across PC, console, and mobile gaming. So
you're wondering, are they going to board gamify a load of these, are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's potential. So we might see Arkham Horror, the video game, or something like Bleeding is for those who suck enough to get injured, Duke Nukem, the card game. You know, we could see loads of different stuff. But it's really interesting.
It's an awful lot of money to spend. What was it, £1 billion?
It was over a bit. I think it was 1.
If you're sitting there thinking, oh, we've a load of IPs, let's make some board games. £1 billion a lot to spend to make board games.
I don't know if it's actually going to impact us at all.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form. Asmodee was owned by a hedge fund, and they wanted to offload for $3 billion during the summer, and have been whoring themselves around looking for a buyer. And this is just going to be, I have no doubt, Embracer are big. I've also no doubt they're also probably a bank or hedge fund backed, and they've simply bought it for the stock options and won't act. They're not actually specifically looking for something that they can use to spread their IPs. It's just a shell company that owns a lot of stuff that's going to.
But it could be better because we got rid of a load of bankers.
Well, you know, it might be. I remember when Asmodee picked up things like Star Wars and all the rest. And we thought, oh, well, this is going to be massive because they're such a huge company. But they more or less just let Fantasy Flight do whatever they wanted, which was very badly support the game and community. At no point did they throw their power and muscle behind it. At no point did we see Star Wars in every shop and with hard plastics from the release.
No.
It was just another license to own, another company to have sitting as collateral behind it. So we might see it sort of impact. I think it's just going to be another thing that just sort of fades into the background.
Potentially.
For me, it's an interesting one because it feels like if they don't do something with it, it feels like it could be a little bit of a missed opportunity because they have all these companies that, like, for example, Fantasy Flight Games are very good at handling, well, they were very good at handling licensed games. They've now obviously lost a lot of those and they've gone very much more in-house over the last while. But
very good at printing card components. I wouldn't necessarily say they're very good at doing licensed games. I'm looking at you, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 3rd Edition.
I mean, that was awful. But
it was god-awful.
But like things like Battlestar Galactica, when that came out, that was so good that they've revamped it into Unfathomable and that kind of thing. So they have got a pedigree in this. And then you've got people like Z-Man and everybody who are also involved with this, and they can do pretty solid versions of cardboard and card games. Doing something like Borderlands stuff just seems like it would be a great option for them to try and do, especially with the success of that recent Borderlands Kickstarter that was
definitely
Monster Fight Club and that kind of thing. So there is definitely something that they could play around with and have fun with for this. Whether or not they do, I think, is, as Jerry says, is another thing because they may just be interested in the money side of stuff. I know that they specifically said, I think in one of the, I think it was in the announcement article, that nothing is changing in terms of the higher ups for either company. So FFG, Asmodee will still be the same. They're just owned by a different person now. So they'll continue doing what they're doing. I guess time will tell whether or not someone up in the higher echelons of these companies goes, hey, wouldn't it be cool if X becomes X?
Yeah. And I think that's where it's lame, because down at the bottom of the kind of press release, they did turn around and say that it just opens a door for kind of cross-pollinating between the two industries. So it's interesting to see. And I think the thing that did blow my mind about this news is because I've always kind of looked at Asmodee as this huge mass, and just out of nowhere, this nowhere quiet group has just gone, yeah, we'll have that. And I've, okay, that's gone to another one. So it's, as I said, there really is always a bigger fish to take on.
Speaking of cross-pollinating, crossing the streams, Ben.
Yeah.
An old friend returned.
Yes. So, do you remember, well, I certainly do, do you remember Space Marine, the amazing Warhammer 40,000 video game, possibly one of the only really good ones, alongside the likes of Vermintide and some of the Warhammer Total War, also very good. Shadow of the Horned Rat, also very good. But then everyone else kind of...
Dawn of War.
Oh, yeah, Dawn of War, yeah. And then there's all the mobile crap. Blech. But anyway, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine was freaking awesome. Playing as Captain Titus, rocking around, weirdly enough, was a THQ game. Stomping around, smashing up orcs, kicking ass, taking names. Well, 10 years on, this came out in 2011, 10 years on, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 has been announced by Saber Interactive and Focus Entertainment.
Yes, and before you say anything, yes, we know this was shown at the Game Awards 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
But we're excited.
We film these later. But anyway, so yes, this is going to follow the story of Captain Titus.
Game Awards.
Yeah. It's going to follow on from Space Marine 1, where at the very end of that, spoilers for a 10-year-old game, Captain Titus was taken away by the Inquisition and the Black Templars for being able to handle material from the warp. Things have moved on a little bit since then. He has a couple more studs in his head, which is a couple of 100 more years. He also is now crossed the Rubicon Primaris, because he's now been turned into a Primaris Lieutenant. Of course he has.
Of course he has. Yeah.
And now he's settling down on a Imperial world that is being surrounded and basically eaten alive by the Tyranids. So,
what were the orcs like in the original game? Were they goofy?
They were proper old school goofy orcs in many ways, yes. But also terrifying when you had to face down a knob. So, yeah.
I'm sure it was. I'm guessing that this will have a slightly different tone then to it, because it doesn't have the goofy sort of orc in it.
Exactly, yeah. So this is obviously switching tack to Tyranids, which are effectively, they are thinking, but sort of a mass of monsters that just want to eat and destroy and rip everything to pieces. So yeah, I think things are going to be switching to a slightly more of a horde style mentality compared to the way that you fought orcs and the Chaos Space Marines in the older version of the game. The thing that I quite liked about this is that, and you'll see it later in this when they show some of the gameplay footage. Also, note of awesomeness for thumbs up. The Cadians actually have purple eyes, because of course they do, because that's what Cadians have. So these guys clearly actually care about what they're doing, which is cool.
Your planet's gone.
Yeah. Your planet's gone, but you still got your eyes. Is that this is from the same studio that did the World War Z video game, which did a lot with kind of like masses of zombies charging towards positions. So using that kind of those same game mechanics and then switching that over to Tyranids, I think is going to be a really interesting thing for kind of dealing with the swarms of Termagants and Hormagaunts coming after you and chasing you down. Obviously, Captain Titus is returning, as we said, and here you can see some of the awesome gameplay footage as well, looking very cool even at this point. Oh my God, that's going to ruin my PC. Better buy it on PlayStation. Is that Mark Strong won't be returning as the voice of Captain Titus, which is sad, because I thought Mark Strong did an exceptionally good job. But he's going to be replaced by Clive Standen, who people will know as Rollo from the Vikings TV show, who had a similarly gravelly, awesome voice. Clearly, crossing the Rubicon Primaris changes your vocal cords as well as your size and stature. But I'm really looking forward to this. I really enjoyed the original game. Weirdly enough, the day before this announcement came out, or more or less, I actually played through the entirety of the original game, as you can see in my lovely live stream. There I am.
Oh, it's Ben.
Yeah.
So I played hot tub Ben.
Benception.
So I played through it. It was really good fun. It's still as hard as it was back in the day as well, even on normal. But yeah, really fun stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I've been obviously with all the hype that came out with the trailer. I've been looking at going to play the first one, and it just looks. Gears of War are one of my favourite, the trilogy, not the ones. Really one of my favourite, and it does look very Gears-like. Especially with the two look like Locust. It was
a game that I think a lot of people should definitely go back and check out. If you want to play it free, it's on Steam. It's
I've got it. I've just got to play it. You download
it. But yeah, a really good game. Really nice to see it back. And again, thank God, as I was saying, that Games Workshop are actually looking at teaming up with companies to create proper big budget video games again, because we've had, obviously we've had Vermintide. We're going to have Darktide coming out next year as well, which looks pretty cool, sort of first-person shooter one. But there's so many that are just kind of like mobile, portable that I think need to be sort of shoved to the side. I mean, yes, if you enjoy them, that's great, fantastic. But there's so much jank out there. I was looking up the
No. Let's just leave it as mobile, portable. Don't apologize, Ben. I think you've been nailed on the head with that.
Yeah.
I was looking up the Inquisitor Eisenhorn game that had come out a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, I remember that. I wonder if it actually turned out being any good. No. Bloody awful. It was. This was back when Total Biscuit, rest his soul, was around, and he was reviewing it, and he said he was god tier awful. So yes, I really, really hope that a lot of stuff is going to be sort of like sorted out. And we see lots more of these kind of like big budget games coming out for 40K and Age of Sigmar, because there is room to do that. And it's not like Games Workshop, they're a small company, but they're not that small. They could put some weight behind it to kind of make all these come to life. I'd love to see a proper role-playing game, based around Wrath and Glory, for example, or something. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, big stuff.
Aren't they going to be too busy for that, though? Way off concentrating on their TV show that they've been talking about for years and years and years.
Well, I mean, I've been watching Warhammer TV. It's not bad. It could do with a lot more stuff in it per week, but
Well, this is my point. Maybe they'll be too busy thinking, well, we need to be focusing more on that side of things than video game side of things, because it's literally their own service.
Yeah, that is true. Well, yeah, I guess we'll see how things go. Maybe all of Henry Cavill's dreams will come true.
Maybe
he'll funnel some of his millions into the program.
Oh no, he's not that stupid. He won't do that.
This is where we find out. Everybody's been guessing who he might play. This is where you just find out he plays everyone.
A one-man musical version of 40K.
But yeah, so yes, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. If you're excited for it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Really, really cool looking stuff. Glad to see Titus back after all this time. So yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, I think Ben needs to go and have a wee lie down. So while he does that, we're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be diving into the world of 3D printing. Okay, so Ben, this week you found Cast in Play. Any relation to Kid in Play?
No, unfortunately not. But there may be some kids in there for you to print, I guess. But they have a My Mini Factory store for us to go and check out, as well as a Tribes option as well, which is their kind of like inbuilt funding system for you to go and have a tinker and play with. But Cast and Play do a smorgasbord of different options. They cover pretty much everything. They do the kind of standard stuff that you would imagine a lot of people do. So you've got things like adventurers and things for use in D&D. They've got a section of sort of like larger monsters and that kind of thing as well. They've done an entire range just based around the idea of kobolds. I love this. I really like the kind of like townsfolk and stuff they've done for this, and mounts and things that you could use for your heroes or in your skirmish games, or maybe just to fill out a stable in one of your tabletop games as well. I think that's really cool.
Unbridled horse. A rarity.
Don't get enough of those. Yeah.
No.
Is that one at the back as well in a different position? No. Bananas.
Oh, that's smaller. That's impressive.
I like bosses, Jerry. Get two at once.
But yes, so they've done a whole bunch of different things, and they've been around for quite a while as well, actually, because they've created quite a repertoire of different options for people to play around with. One of the things that's quite nice about a lot of their stuff is that it like fills those gaps that you'd find within collections by doing things like producing sort of drunken patrons for taverns and NPCs that you might meet around on the streets and that kind of thing as well, but then does them in a really nice sort of detailed way as well. There's a lot of layers and sort of depth to a lot of their sculpts. You can see it quite literally here in the form of the way the dress is falling on this particular female noble. I just thought it was very nice indeed. So very nice. They would look particularly good in some Victoriana style stuff. I was just going to think you can use those as a player character in there.
Go back a page, Jerry, to the menu you were on where you opened these just from.
Oh, right. This one?
Well, no. You were on it just there a second ago.
That one.
What else have they got? Is this all farmyard stuff then? Got pigs.
It's building like a town or rural setting sort of thing. Yeah. So you could build up a little village or a little sort of market town perhaps or something on the tabletop.
Look, both hay bales and haystacks.
Oh,
Picayune farmers. One or the other. Not both.
What is your trait?
Is it a giant haystack?
Well, it might be a giant haystack. Is there a big daddy to go with it, though? Yeah, I imagine we've got right in there.
It's so big you need a ladder.
Many pitchforks.
It looks like it's killed Big Bird, to be honest.
I think there's a couple more spare pitchforks underneath it.
All of the stuff that they do is pre-supported, I should say, as well. So it's all come so that it'll work on your 3D printers nice and easily. You can do what John does and just click and go, basically. And that worked particularly well for John, so I'm sure it worked well for everyone else who can 3D printing a go. They also do lots of bits and pieces that can be used to kind of like as incidental things to draw you off in different ways, to do different campaigns and things. So maybe using these as the basis for sort of like a sort of ancient Greek Jason the Argonaut style adventure. Twin the miniatures that you're seeing here with some of the terrain that they've done for kind of like ruins and temples and stuff. And then suddenly you've got an entire adventure sort of come to life on the tabletop, which I think is really nice. Some of their nice stuff. If you go up a little bit, Jerry, there's one called I think it's the Cursed Crew, which is a set of like pirates and stuff.
That bar is beautiful.
So you've got like a proper big haunted ghost ship, a haunted crew and everything as well, sort of floating into battle. Slightly more cartoony, I guess, sort of themed after kind of like Sea of Thieves and stuff, which is obviously very nice, really fun game to dive into and play.
Sectional.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So you
could expand it very easily.
Yes, exactly. You can use different decking plates to make it larger and stuff, which I think would be really nice. Again, kind of like themes itself after the idea of you use this for a specific adventure or you make it into something like in a role-playing game, or you use this as the basis for a little fun miniatures game with your friends and things. Take one of the rules out there that's all dedicated towards pirates and stuff. Make your own crews, dive in and have fun. So.
Great. That's a nice bit of scatter there.
Just use it to transport my barrels full of octopus.
Yeah.
Chickens of the sea.
That's what it means then.
Or scrubber imps.
They have a LeChuck there, I think, as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah. From Monkey Island.
Oh, look at them.
Yeah.
They don't seem unhappy in their life of servitude.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing that I quite liked about this set is that it kind of gives me, occasionally with some of the miniatures, sort of like a Malifaux-y vibe as well.
Yeah.
So you get away with using them as alternative crew members and things like that in games of Malifaux, which is pretty nice. One of the more recent ones, I think, is the one that you clicked on it, Jerry, was the adventurers stuff.
I hovered over it.
That bar, that bar on the right hand side is gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah. Adventurers Guild bar and the quest board is very nice as well. I like that. The big giant
here anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
But a really nice collection of things that, again, obviously themed towards Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of stuff. A lot of the time with these
proper bases,
exactly. Yeah, the bases
are terrible ones.
The bases that you see for these, I think, are really, really good because they obviously then don't just apply to the miniatures you're printing as part of this. You could use them for a whole range of different things. And because obviously you've got the 3D printing files, you don't have to spend, copious amounts of dollars, pounds, or euros in order to buy lots, not to, precast ones. You can just print them all off yourself. And bases are pretty freaking easy to paint, to print off, as we've seen in the past. So, and Warren has done a lot of them. So yeah, they're definitely something that I think is something that you'll probably overlook when it comes to something like this. But they're a key thing that I think a lot of people should definitely check out and add into the mix. I love that the quest board is covered with arrows.
I love
and
that.
daggers that have been thrown at it. I like the idea that maybe occasionally someone who owns the bar comes up on stage and is like, and here are 9 quests for it. And then he's chased off by drunken adventurers who throw knives and shoot arrows at him and stuff.
I just assume that's how they just decided
Just
who
like
did
one
what.
Yeah.
No.
We'll do that one. Another bloody dragon. Yeah, but some fun stuff that's full of character, which I think is nice.
For sure.
Talk about being full of arrows. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
He's a beefy fellow. Oh, pipe smoking madame.
Nice.
The owner of the tavern or the nearby bordello, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Why not both?
Ah, yes.
And a dwarf. And all of a sudden it all becomes very clear why we're here, Ben.
That's
World of
gorgeous.
Warcrafty. That's all, yeah.
It's a nice mount, yeah.
I like that guy. He's cool. You don't see enough Dragonborn, I find.
It's not much Dragonborn.
They've started to do a little bit more of that with kind of like the official lines and things, but you never see a lot of people branching out and doing it. They tend to do all the classic fantasy races and then stay clear of the likes of Dragonborns and Tieflings and stuff. But
Do Dragonborns hatch from an egg?
not necessarily.
That's a very good question, though.
Lizards, of course they do.
I think you should decide that for yourself.
let's know in the comments where you think Dragonborn come from.
Yeah, it's very kind of like
Warcraft.
high
Like
epic
Meriden.
fantasy. Yes, yes, very Meriden. Especially the hammer. Yeah, but he's hiding his face, or she's hiding her face, I guess. But yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, it's a nice section of different things in there that you can use for printing things off. Again, as I say, full of detail and sort of character and stuff. So they should, hopefully, fingers crossed, come out all right on your printer and make for some interesting new projects to paint. So
Has he got one of those things for measuring your feet strapped to the bottom of his apron?
it does look like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
it does.
Why does he need to know the size of my feet before I can have a pint?
Well, he's an innkeeper, so
Maybe that's how they check to see if halflings have come in. They were like,
Oh, no.
you're a small child. Are you a child or a halfling? Ah, there we go.
Massive feet. You're a halfling. That's okay. We can serve you.
depends
Or
what room you get. Yeah.
Maybe they go the other way. You're a halfling. Get out. Here's
We
your
only,
beer,
we only,
small
we only
child.
let children drink here.
All for that. So apart from the My Mini Factory, they also have this tribes thing.
Yep. So Tribes is sort of like a fundraiser built into, or like a subscription service built into My Mini Factory. I believe there is also a Patreon as well. But if you want to stay within the one service, you can sign up through the Tribes system, and it gets you exactly as you would have got through Patreon. You get a bundle of miniatures every month. This month is obviously styled towards the sort of adventuring guild and that kind of thing. But a lot of the time, you'll not only get stuff that is available for that month, but also a bunch of additional bits and pieces that are sort of like then built in as part of a welcome package or that kind of thing, which Cast and Play do. But as you can see, an amazing selection of awesome stuff there. I particularly like the giants and those armored individuals in the center. I think they look exceptionally cool.
The torture chamber's great.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
cards. Everybody likes a good torture
awesome.
chamber.
Yeah. They're fab.
Bit of an Iron Maiden going on. It's all good. All good. Interesting stuff. So cast, play
Cast and Play.
on My Mini Factory
Mhm.
and allegedly perhaps on Patreon as well.
Yeah. There'll be
Might
some
go
links
there
down
when it's
below.
all here.
Exactly. There'll be some links down below if you want to go and check it out. As I say, they've been around for a while. They've been doing a lot of stuff, as is the one with a lot of these 3D printing companies now. So there is no there's no lacking for things to go and explore and dive into. We barely touched the surface. There are even some cosmic horrors, and we know how much Jerry likes some cosmic horrors from last week. So,
Yeah.
Still having to recover from that. But anyway, if you fancy checking it out, if you're a 3D fanatic, then cast in play on My Mini Factory and Tribes. Finishing off the show, time to take a look at some Kickstarters. And who have we got this week?
Well, there is the most adorable Kickstarter at the moment, and it's built for 5e. So players will get the chance to take on a role of little tiny baby gobbos fresh from spawn ready to go to their first adventure. So before I get into what do you think the actual correct word for a baby goblin is? Is it a goblet? Is it? But they've used gobbling with an ing,
Goblin.
so gobbling. But as you know, whimsy is what keeps my brain ticking over. So when you do see some unusual suspects burying their head into the worlds of whimsy,
This tiny goblin Winky.
Oh, I know, so whimsical. And it's something that's making me smile. Yeah, there he is, yeah. No clothes for these gobbos. Certainly not. So these goblins are straight from spawning. They're tiny, they're fresh, and they've been asked with an incredible and important mission and adventure. They need to head out into the big bad world where all those horrible humans live, and monsters lurk around each corner. So
I can't stop seeing Goblin Winky.
That's it. Oh, wait. Oh, look at this goblin. Oh,
Goblin bottom.
Goblin bottom. Bless him. Look at him. I'm seeing it now. Look, you can even see it from a distance. Luckily, their nose covers up there. Is that how? Anyway, they are hoping to leave and bring back the perfect gift for, as you can see, the most ravishing queen of the goblins.
Oh, where are we zooming into? Oh.
Ooh. Oh. But the goblins are completely unequipped with everything that's outside in the big bad world. So they've got no weapons. They've got no idea what kind of mischief's out in the open world. And it just sounds like a lot of fun. So included in the campaign, there is a 25-page adventure that you'll get. And you get all of your maps done in the similar art style on which you see there, which I think is absolutely darling. And you will control the Gobbos and make their journey away across the new and exciting world. So you never know. You might decide that you never want to return back by Sunrise because they do threaten you if you don't come back. We're going to come looking for you. So the adventure is completely yours to where you go. So it's really awesome to have a small adventure saw on Kickstarter. It is for me. We usually see so many big publisher names up there. It's really nice to have a small, considering how small SlowQuest is, the name behind the adventure. They initially only proposed 1,700, but the campaign's almost, I think they're over 25,000 now. So
yeah,
it's fantastic to see a small adventure come in. So there's only 4 days left on the clock. By the time you see this, ignore the number on the screen. Only 4 days left. So quite cool and quite nice little adorable adventure if you do want to run off one.
Thank God the wrinkly one has a very long nose.
Yeah, we didn't need that, did we?
The thing that I really liked about this is that they've clearly gone, wouldn't it be nice to make a little starter set for D&D and then done something a little bit left field?
Yeah.
Like I had the Goblin Quest rulebook, which is by Grant Howitt, and that's fantastic. And just really good whimsical fun. And I think playing as something like Goblins engenders that in your games as well. Yeah. And you'll be kind of led down the idea of it just being sort of like a fun, rollicking adventurer, while also being serious, I'm sure, at different points as you fight things. But I think this seems like the perfect thing to fill in a couple of nights or something, going through the different adventures and spending your time playing the game, rather than just playing as your typical heroes, your elves and your dwarves and stuff, going off to slay dragons and things. So.
I mean, especially the last stretch goal on there as well. They're going to be adding even more content, so more stuff for you to customize your goblins. And I don't see, as I said, it's 4 days left. There is still plenty of time, and it's done incredible as to yet. So.
Doing a sticker sheet so you can stick your equipment onto your goblins. Oh my God.
I know.
While you listen to your music.
Yeah. How cool is this? That's really fun. Now, does the music actually come on a cassette?
No,
is there a preview
digital.
of it? Do they have a preview of the music?
I don't think they do.
Doesn't say that one. But
digital adventure soundtrack.
Links below
by Hermit Knight. I think that just links to their own page.
Yeah.
Hermit Knight.
Humble Knight.
There we go.
Humble Knight. There you go.
So this shows off what they've done, I guess, in the past, but obviously not their new stuff, I'd imagine. But that's cool. I like that.
Very cool.
There's some weird stuff going on there.
There is.
Yeah, it looks like Kermit's been stung by a bee.
I've just seen a death metal gnome and I'm okay with it.
The website looks very murk book.
Yeah, let's not play this. We've no idea what'll be in it. We can't hear it. We can't hear it anyway,
No, I
Derek.
can. That's fine. I can hear it. And I'll tell you, it's not what you're expecting. There you go. So 4 days left for the Goblings.
The Goblings with an INJ.
I think that'd be really fun to pick up and hopefully gets delivered soon for people to go and have fun with. That sounds really cool. Really cool. Yeah.
Very different, certainly.
Indeed.
What's the last one you've got for us then?
So the last one is more 3D printing. This is from Print My Minis, who are also known as Blue Giant Studios now, rather than Atlantis Miniatures. But this is the World of Dragons, not tomorrow. The World of Dragons. So this is a selection of pre-supported STL dragons, wyverns, drakes, and more to print off at home. I've not just read the description at the top of the Kickstarter. There's a whole bunch of wicked digital files for you to download in this that allow you to print off massive, awesome fire, ice, lightning drakes to use in your games. I freaking love dragons anyway. So having something that basically collects all of those together, I think is really, really cool. And I like that it's not just your typical ones as well. You've got your standard four-limbed, two-winged dragons, as they are supposed to be. Then you've got the wyverns with obviously the two wings at the front. You've then got fey dragons. You've got dragons from different sort of areas of our own sort of mythology as well. So you've got the Coaxatl and stuff as well, which I think is really nice in there. That wyvern really reminds me of the Gary Hunt version of a dragon, I think. Very cool. Like that style and the way that it's been formed. But yes, very nice. But yeah, it's a big, lovely selection of dragons for you to play around with and dive into. And yeah, even some stuff that is slightly more Nordic in inspiration. So, for example, these kind of drakes mirror the kind of look that you might expect from those sort of dragons that you saw in Norse mythology, sort of more serpentine, slinking through rocks, hunting down your hairy dragons, hunting down your foes on the mountainside, perhaps. But yeah, a really awesome section of different things.
Cockatrice.
Cockatrice are nice.
Best way to deal with tree men.
Unleash the cockatrice. Yeah. If you don't know about Print My Minis and Atlantis / Blue Giant Studios, they've been doing stuff for a really long time. They have a good pedigree when it comes to 3D printable miniatures and also finished resin miniatures as well. So they're a company that has been doing this for a very long time and definitely know what they're doing. So when it comes to diving in, and Jerry buys the Fey Dragon.
Is that a bear or a raccoon?
Well, it's
considering next to the
squirrel.
Yes, definitely not a bear.
Could be a red panda.
Bear cub.
Would be a red panda.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a really nice section. I really like the scale comparison kind of shows off the size of these things as well. So like these are towering monsters for you to use on the tabletop. Like that's a regular old Joe. And here's some of the test prints and things they've done, which is pretty nice. Amazing. Showing off the quality of them as well. Obviously, depending on your printer, things will vary. But everything is pre-supported and all sort of been sorted out already. So if you follow the instructions, I'm sure you'll be able to pick up some really nice dragons to use on the tabletop. So yeah.
Fun and games for 3D printing fans. And if you're not, like myself, they are making real ones of them in the new year out of resin. So you will still be able to pick them up even if you don't do the printing at home. Interesting to see how much they've got to unlock, or if it's going to be quite a confined, niche little Kickstarter. Because
I'd be happy with.
I feel like they don't really need to do a huge amount to this.
I'd be happy if they manage to just get the funding done. I think that delivers on. I think what they have already in circulation delivers on everything that I think anyone would really need when it comes to dragons and stuff. But obviously, you can go and check out some of their existing stuff. We have talked about them before on 3D printing is the shit.
Do you know what? Scroll back up a little bit to the supports. You could even stick it on your tabletop in supports form as if it's a big statue they're building.
Oh, you could.
You could do.
And paint all the supports brown like scaffolding.
That's for the lazy game.
How else do you get your fantasy natural history museum?
Exactly. Yeah, I suppose,
Or it looks like a theme park.
I was thinking that too. Looks a bit like a coaster.
Yeah.
Yep. Beautiful stuff. So you told you hairy dragons.
Oh, don't set him on light.
Well, probably too damp to burn being Nordic. There you go. Only just launched, 11 days to go and already funded. And you should be getting your little STLs just after Christmas. Because we're only 8 sleeps away from Christmas.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing my bloody Christmas hat. I thought you guys were going to wear the bloody jumpers. Now I look like an oddball.
Don't worry, you always look like an oddball, even with that. We are going to call it at that for another week. We will, however, be back on Sunday morning for the XLBS over on tabletop.com. So if you're not a member of the Cult of Games, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial and come and see us witter on about all things hobby, yours and ours. Otherwise, we'll be back in 7 sleeps' time as we get ready for Christmas.
Episode. Yay!
Christmas episode. Oh, we're so good to you. Miss us. And don't forget, if you want to win any of those Silver Bayonet prizes, comment on the Silver Bayonet videos, either here on YouTube or over on tabletop.com as well. Otherwise, we will see you on Sunday morning. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.